Think you look for morons who are empty vessels that you could put your ideas in.
No other gutless Republican would go into that lion's den for an hour and 20 minutes and take all the incoming. That's absurd.
But you didn't think you'd get fired.
Well, remember, you've got...
Steve Bannon versus Bill Maher. Steve Bannon, if you don't know anything about him, he was involved in Breitbart News. He was the executive chairman of that for a while. He worked with Trump for the first 7 months of his presidency. But now he's known to go around into very challenging environments and debate people on the opposite side. When I say a challenging environment, I mean where the crowd is totally against him. A lot of them hate him. He's a very conservative fellow, and Bill Maher is much more of a liberal fellow. So the reason this is interesting to break down is to see these guys who have massive amounts of experience debating and trying to look higher status than the other person when they go toe to toe. Now, mind you, they're in Bill Maher's arena, right? The whole crowd is behind Bill Maher, which makes it much more difficult for the opposing party. So we're going to break down the actual strategies that these guys use, because I want you to understand it. A lot of people will watch us to the end and be like, oh, I thought this guy did good and this guy did a little less good, but they don't know why. Because once you understand the strategies they use, number one, you can use them in your own life. And almost equally as importantly, you can prevent them from using them against you because you know what they're doing. You can see the charisma matrix. You can peel back and see the actual strategies behind just, oh, it feels like they're doing this to me. And that's why we're breaking this down. So let's dive on into the footage and see how this unfolds.
But first up, look, I know you're not a fan of this guy, but be nice. He is one of the most influential person around today. He is the former White House chief strategist for President Trump. Steve Bannon is over here. Steve Bannon. Hey, I'm going to say to you what I always say to conservatives when they come here. First of all, thank you. I appreciate it, and it says volumes why the Republicans are in power and we have none. Hillary Clinton never came here.
So you'll notice that he almost always starts out these interviews when he has people from the other side by saying that. And I think it accomplishes two things. It gets people watching his show who aren't liberal on his side more. Clearly they're not going to switch side, but like, oh, this guy isn't too bad. If he would have come out immediately and started hammering about positions and things like that, it's like, who is this jerk trying to bulldoze this guy with his home crowd? When he does that, it softens everything he does in the rest of the interview because he knows he's going to end up going hard at this guy. So when you start, the term is called couching it. So when you start by couching the whole interview in a nice, hey, I want to thank you. Even people on our side wouldn't be able to do that. It makes it easier for him to really hammer later in the interview. So you see he does that every single time.
I think you look for morons who are empty vessels that you could put your ideas in. Steve, every single person in the administration has called him an idiot. That's what you look for. I get it.
No. You're not.
Now, this is a theme we're going to see throughout the entire interview, and I cut this down to be much shorter than it is. It's the whole thing's about 12 minutes. But look at his hand right there. You're going to see so much communication between these two guys only with their body language. And what's he trying to do? What does that tell you when you see this freeze frame right here? He's telling him that he has something to say. And typically when you see that, it says you're talking, but I'm ready to talk. Or if he's talking and he has more to say, you'll see him do that more and more. So like, let's say he has a sentence and he's come to the end of the sentence. And so he thinks that Maher may think he's about done, but he has another point he wants to make. He'll put his hand out to alert the other person of that. That's something that people who aren't super tuned in socially a lot of times miss. Little nuances like this are very important in conversation because it may seem like a subtle nuance, but it actually leads to someone being much smoother and a better communicator, being able to get their point across. Just for this instance, can you imagine every time you had two things to say, the other person wouldn't know it, they'd interrupt you after one thing to say, you'd get half of the time that you should get. So this may seem like a subtle nuance, but it's actually something that's very important. And I'm going to point that out a few more times in this interview.
No other gutless Republican would go into that lion's den for an hour and 20 minutes and take all the incoming. He stood up for Kavanaugh more than any
Look
of
at
these.
that. That has nothing to do with his point, right? He's not making, like, when speakers speak, they have a gesture, a grandiose gesture to really make their point. We're going to stick it to him tonight. You put your finger up in the air. I guess you can't see me, but you probably hear that in my voice. But here, this has nothing to do with his point. All he's doing is trying to prevent Bill from talking, letting him know he has something else to say. Let's go back and watch that again.
He stood up for Kavanaugh more than any of these.
So two completely different body language things. There's to stop him, and there's to make his point.
To go into on Thursday and to take on the Democrats. If Trump had not done that, By the way, he did have some answers that were not the standard answers. But look, he's got
and that was also a thing. We might as well talk about this. That's a nuance. He put that out there to say, because he said something that wasn't that positive. He said, hey, listen, he didn't have some standard answers, basically saying it was a weakness. He did something not very good. But in putting those two hands out like that, it's almost like saying, listen, here's a concession. I know it wasn't that good. Give me a break. Don't say anything like, hold off. I'm admitting it wasn't that good. That's what that hand gesture meant.
He did have some answers that were not the standard answers.
And he even stutters a little bit because he's not confident saying it, right? It makes it look weak. It makes his side look bad, and so he stutters, but he tries to stop it with the two-handed shove.
He did have some answers that were not the standard answers, but look, he's got his own.
It's not about standard. No. It's about reality.
He has his own house style.
Divorced from reality.
And what happened there? He's tried it too many times. He's used that technique how many times to keep Bill from talking? 3 times. And now Bill has had enough, and to let him know, you can tell from his tone of voice, he's just plowing right through it.
It's not about standard. No. It's about reality.
He has his own house style.
Divorced from reality.
Absolutely not true. He's actually more grounded. And that speech at the UN. No, the speech.
He said China loves me because I have a big brain.
Watch the signal. There's a flashbang grenade every day as far as the noise goes, right? But just watch the signal. He's very consistent.
See if you can pick out which body language movements are to make his point versus to stop Bill from
talking.
Watch
the signal. There's a flashbang grenade every day as far as the noise goes, right? But just watch the signal. He's very consistent. That speech at the UN.
Well, you know what? The signal that was sent with the tax cut didn't reach your base. Reality won.
Bill.
See, okay, that's where Bill, it's kind of funny. Like when he really wants to make a point, he gets a bit sassy, almost like a valley girl in high school. That's 101. And look at like his shoulders rocking. You can see he's leaning right there. That does 2 things. That's just his way to kind of make it seem like his point is so strong that he can say it all flippantly like that. But it also tells his audience he's making a point. So it lets them know it's time to cheer. They clearly have cheer lights and stuff to let audience know, but it helps when the guy is doing it as well. So watch this and notice his Valley Girl kind of sassy accent start the minute he tries to make this point or starts to make this point.
Well, you know what? The signal that was sent with the tax cut didn't reach your base. Reality won.
Bill.
Reality won once because, wait a second, they know that tax cut, 83% of it went to the top 1%.
Sassy.
They know that, and they don't like it.
And the audience, there they go. All right, this is an important part of the interview. So you're going to see Bill Maher talk over Bannon 10 different times. I'm not kidding you. 10 times he's going to try different strategies by talking, putting a hand out, and I'll count them down for you. But it's important because what Bill says is basically he equates Donald Trump to a con man. So the minute that Bannon hears this, he knows he has to try to stop it and steer the conversation elsewhere. But why is Bill able to keep going? Let's watch this and then we'll analyze why he was able to have success in talking over him 10 different times. Because like we said previously, the one we analyzed, it was 3 times that Bannon tried that. And eventually the person just gets tired of it and just bulldozes over you. But why was he able to keep this going for 10 times?
Tax rates, which I didn't totally agree with, right? Because there's more of the trickle down, is something that had to be used to get this thing passed. But the central part of it was the corporate tax cuts.
But isn't that what a con man does? He said, I'm going to look out for you, the common man, the forgotten American. And then he gets in there and tries to steal their health care to pay for the tax cut for the rich people. How is that? Wait, how is that being honest to the pledge of doing it for the little guy?
Because the central part of this bill was bringing manufacturing.
All right, so why was he able to do that? It's because he had momentum and inertia. It's very hard. Like, think of the person who's talking as the train with a full head of steam, and think of the person trying to interrupt as the train just trying to get it going. You know, the wheels start spinning and turning, and it's a slow thing. So Bill rides that inertia with his tone of voice. He keeps a consistent cadence that lets the other person know, I'm not going to let you talk over to me. Listen to this one more time.
But the central part of it was the corporate tax cuts.
Isn't that what a con man does? He said, I'm going to look out for you, the common man, the forgotten American. And then he gets in there and tries to steal their health care to pay for the tax cut for the rich people. How is that? Wait, how is that being honest to the pledge of doing it for the little guy?
Because the central part
of the
central part.
So you can see there, he used all those different strategies, but he did them all with great certainty, which sub-communicated to Bannon. It's funny because in situations like this, the other person can typically read how hard The other one is going to be to interrupt. That's actually something within subcommunication that people don't understand. If somebody, and that's why some people, maybe even at your office place, some people just get talked over all the time. And it's because they're subcommunicating to the other people in the group and the other people who talk over them that they'll be easy to talk over, or they're not that confident in what they have to say. Or even if it's two confident people like this, at one time, Bill decided, listen, I'm driving the train right now. I'm not going to be easy to interrupt. And so he uses all the hand gestures, the vocal tonality, the rhythm, and everything like that communicates to Bannon, maybe there's going to be a better time to interrupt than this time. He's got a lot of momentum. He's probably going to keep talking over me. And you saw what did happen. He continued to try 10 different times, but he was unsuccessful in doing it.
Advice you would give to Donald Trump if he didn't leave even after he lost? Because I saw Hillary Clinton.
You're obsessed with this.
I am obsessed
You're
with this.
obsessed with it.
Okay, so what happens right there? That's the first time civility was a little bit broken. Because when you tell someone they're obsessed with somebody, it's a negative statement. It's like saying, you're an idiot. Why do you keep thinking about this? It's dumb. And so that's the first time in this interview that this happened. So now Bill has to strike back even harder. Otherwise, he gets put in his place and his social value drops. Let's see what happens.
Why do you think he's not going to leave?
Wait a second.
Just because I know he's having the time of his life.
Because he's an insane narcissist?
Okay, so what did he say? That's the first time that Bill Maher is a bit less PC because he's an insane narcissist. So they both step it up a level. And that's something in trash talking that you need to understand. Because if Bill Maher, he's a pro. This is what he does for a living. But he understood the minute that he got nasty and said, God, you're obsessed with this. He had to step up and say something. And what did he say? He's an insane narcissist. A lot of people, when they get made fun of or talked down to, they just kind of sit there quietly and can't think of anything to say. And it's crippling. It's a terrible sinking feeling when you know in any argument or any conversation, someone can basically talk down to you and you can't think of something witty or timely or funny to say because you want to be able to come up with something that not only makes you look good, but it makes the other person look bad for even trying to talk down to you. If that's something that you have a problem with, I'd suggest click here to take the witty comeback quiz, or I'm going to go through a few questions to see how good you are at basically coming up with comebacks. And I'm also going to talk down to you myself and see if you could come up with something good to say. So it's a lot of fun. So you can click up here in the right corner to take that.
So you're saying he will go if he loses?
Oh, I don't think it's a question. Absolutely. It's not even, that's absurd.
But you didn't think you'd get fired?
Well, remember, you've got...
That's a tough one. So basically, it doesn't make much logical sense. So he's basically saying your prediction on this is probably wrong because you didn't think you'd get fired and your prediction on that's wrong. That's like saying that you either have to be 100% on your predictions or you're going to be always wrong. But it's funny and it's harsh because why? Because he brought up the fact that he got fired in a funny way. And so now he has to kind of confront that. Let's see what he does.
Just saying.
I only gave it 1 year.
Okay, so now he's saying, I only gave it 1 year. So like I knew the whole time I was going to get fired. But that's a tough one. And that's a good one that Bill Maher brought up. But this is about the best way that he can handle it by saying, yeah, it's funny. He's laughing at it. I knew it was only going to be a year. Ha ha.
I only gave it 1 year. I only gave it 1 year. Read the book.
I know.
The people in the Republican Party disagree with me. I don't think that meeting was appropriate. I don't think you reach out to foreign sources. I don't think you reach out to foreign sources.
Appropriate is quite a bit less than treason.
All you needed, by the way,
there's appropriate.
All you needed was Clinton cash. We had done all the research. We printed the book and done the film to show that Clinton's corruption.
Okay, here's a great example. All body language. So what happens? Bill Maher wants to talk. He puts his hand out, and Bannon puts his hand out on top of it to let him know, no, he's not going to let him talk. He's going to keep going. This is interesting.
All you needed was Clinton cash. We had done all the research. We printed the book and done the film to show
all
that
body
Clinton's
language.
Corruption. All you need to do is go into Clinton cash, the foundation.
But when you see these people with those T-shirts that say, I'd rather be with Russia than a Democrat, what do you think about that?
Here's what I think. I think
that can't be a positive.
If you like this, you can subscribe to the channel. And by the way, if you're on Instagram and don't follow me, you're missing out on a ton of content. I'm putting a lot of stuff out there that I don't put out on YouTube. Have you heard of a dude named Ben Shapiro? He was on the Bill Maher show not too long ago, and it got really heated. It makes this interview look very, very civil, and I actually broke that down. It was really interesting. It's a popular video. If you haven't seen that, you can click there, and I'll walk you through it right now. Or if this video looks better, you can click right here to watch it, and I'll talk to you there.
Because, Ben, you can't walk into a room and see an elephant and a mouse and not know which one is bigger.
But it's not an elephant and a mouse. It's two elephants.
But it is, really?
I needed 600 officers to protect me at Berkeley. Yes, it's an elephant